Heyo, hello, hi. Welcome back to the underworld, or the upside down in this case. I'm Ghosty, and welcome back. Hi, hello. And you're here to hear my thoughts and my reaction to episode 4, or chapter 4, of Stranger Things season 4. That's a lot of fours. This one is chapter 4, named Dear Billy. And I cannot wait to watch it. If you haven't seen my other reactions or my other thought videos about the rest of the episodes, go watch that. Check it out. It should already be up on the channel. But if you already have and you're here to hear me out for episode 4, then let's start it. I'm going to start it and I'll get back to this. Wow. Okay. A lot to unpack here. A lot of shit is going down. A lot of shit just happened. That felt like a movie. I mean, every episode so far is the length of what could be a movie, but this really felt the most cinematic out of them all, I think. So much stuff happened, and I have a lot to talk about, so I'm going to try to sum it up as I can. So, yeah. And spoilers, obviously, if you're still watching this, get out of here. If you haven't seen it, I'm telling you that because I'm helping you. Because this is probably one of the most biggest episodes that you probably don't want to get spoiled on. And so you can watch it yourself. But if you are here, and you're still here, and you're listening because you've seen it, welcome. A lot to talk about. And I will say, I was wrong before, or I misunderstood from last video about the whole thing with Victor Creel. It wasn't his victims or anything like that. It was Vecra's victims, and he was a victim of Vecra. Or his family was. And he tried joining his family in the afterlife because of what Vecna did to his family. I misunderstood that last episode, but now it actually made sense, and I got it right. So, alright, where do we start? I'll try to go chronologically, but I might get things mixed up here and there, and just do it like a wild card, and not care any order. I don't know. Jesus, alright, let's go. Alright, well, firstly, the episode starts off with Max and her visions and whatever's going on, because last episode it left off on kind of a cliffhanger with Max, because all of Vecra's victims have all had the same experiences that Max has been having recently, and it said that if, like 5 days later, like a little before a week after the experiences, like negative emotions and these feelings, like Vecra strikes, and that's when like the tragedies happen, and that's when their death takes place. And of course, that's because of Vecra. And we explore them, we explore Nancy and Robin, and then we explore Mike and Will, and Jonathan in the house. So a lot of stuff's going on, and also we also see Joyce and Murray, and of course Hopper. So we had the whole cast in this episode, and a lot of stuff happened with all of them. So let's talk about it. I still don't know what to talk about first. Alright, well, firstly, the episode starts off with Mike, Will, and Jonathan in the house, and the government officials tell them what's up with 11 and what's going on. And then they're like fine with that. And then we come back with Justin, Robin, Nancy, Steve, and Max all in the school looking around for files for the Vecra victims. And then we also saw in the last episode that Max learns like really quickly when she's reading the files that she's been experiencing the same stuff that the Vecra victims dealt with before they died, and she like easily connects the dots like really fast. And then it comes over to this episode, and we learn what happens after. And the entire time, Max is just preparing for her like inevitable death, which is so like fucked up, but it's so good. And that entire episode has like just a massive amount of despair looming over it the entire episode. I don't think anything goes right for any of our characters in this episode. I mean, at least towards the end of it does. But for the most part, it seems like everything's just dark and gloomy the entire thing and all throughout. Last episode, I was really hoping to see, Max like succeed and be happy again, and just for her to be fine, because I like Max. I'm a fan of Max, and I thought they were actually going to kill her off. Thankfully, in this episode, they do not, and there was many times where I thought she was going to die. Especially when she started floating up in the sky. I was like, oh boy. But, Jesus. So much had happened in this episode. Alright, let's do the chronological thing again, though. But yeah, Max, like, learns about that, whatever, they talk. And then Lucas comes in, which he's finally away from the basketball players. And he's actually with his, like, real, actual friends again. And now he's joined them on this, like, in this fight and like this battle against the Vecna, which is obviously shown in this episode and just in general is not to be messed around with and not to be played with. This Vecna is powerful and it is a serious threat, and they show it and display it pretty damn well in this episode. And then we get the basketball players. Now, instead of looking for Eddie, they realize that like they were tricked. And the guy's name is actually... I literally knew it, and now I forget again. God damn it. Oh no. The players knew that they were tricked by Lucas, and instead of looking for Eddie now they're on the hunt for Lucas. Because if they go to Lucas, they also meet Dustin. So they kind of win either way. They find either or. Because, again, they're just trying to look for Eddie. Because they still think that Chrissy died because of Eddie. And then Lucas' sister gives them the rundown and puts him in his place. And then I think that's pretty much it for them in this episode. After that, though, we come back with Max and the group. And they're in, I think, Max's house. Or maybe not. I'm not sure. But Max is writing letters on pen and paper. And she's writing letters for everyone that she holds like dear and close to her. And this is, like, everything in this episode is so sad, and I feel for it, and it did get me my emotions, and it did hit me, but it was just so messed up. But, like, Max was writing letters for everyone that she, like, holds dear and close to her heart, everyone that she loves, and everyone that means something to her, for her friends and family, and that's pretty much it. That's who she needs to write letters for, and that's what she does. She writes letters for all of them, and it's for... after her death, basically. I can't really word it any other way. She wrote the letters for everyone, like, in preparation for after her death, for everyone to read and to get everything that she wants to say out that she can't say in person, but she's written it down for everyone in case she actually does come and meet her fate, which is so messed up. But it's so touching, I think, and they do it really well. The actress for Max, though, I will say, in this episode, did a really good job, I think, because that's where the emotion came from, and that's what most of this episode is about. Like, the main stuff is about Max and Vecna still. So, just props to the actress, but God, Max, she's really toying with my emotions in this episode. Like, that actually happened. She actually wrote letters for everyone in case the worst comes to worst, and she actually does meet death, and it's for all of them to read afterwards. It's just, oh man, it's so upsetting. It's so depressing. A little after, though, we see Nancy and Robin are actually going to go out of their way and find where Victor Creel is because of the tragedy that happened with his family. Because Vecna has been around for a while now, and they learned that through old papers from last episode, and now they're actually taking action. And Victor Creel was, I guess, was a supposed serial killer, but he didn't actually kill anyone, and I think he might have... I'm not sure if they said this in the episode. If they did, I didn't catch it, or I didn't hear it. But I'm assuming that he was framed for his family murder, because it all pointed to him, but it wasn't actually him, and it was Vecna. Or maybe he actually is a serial killer, and he's just there. But regardless, he's in a mental institution, and they go there to talk to him about the events that happened with his family and how Vecna took them all out one by one. And then we get his insight later on in the episode, but that's for later. Actually, no, screw it. We'll talk about it now. That was upsetting too. Like I said, the entire episode is just full of despair. It's like, it's all dark and gloomy. And that was also pretty touching. Like, not as touching as Max, obviously. Like, we don't know the characters. It was fucked up, yeah. But it's not as, like, touching. It didn't get me my emotions or anything. I'm not going to say I bawled my eyes out at that part or anything. I didn't even cry to begin with in this episode. If Max died, I probably would have. Trust me. But for Victor Creel and his family, it was sad and it was messed up. But we did learn the truth about what happened with him before it was too late, thankfully. And then Nancy and Robin actually got a little closer. So props to them. They even had that little high five at the end, too. You gotta give props when it's due. You know what I mean? But then a little after them events, we meet Joyce and Murray again. And they're made it to Alaska, and they found the pilot, which he jokes a lot with them, and it's actually pretty funny. I found a good laugh in it. I enjoyed him. Yuri is the man, or at least I thought so, until he, ruined literally everything for everyone later on. But, I guess that is what it is. I honestly didn't expect it. Alright, no. I expected something to go wrong, and I expected something to, definitely go haywire. But not that. I don't know what I expected, but it definitely wasn't that. Yuri flipping the switch on literally everyone wasn't under my call book. Sorry, I just didn't see it. But we get all a bunch of stuff with Joyce and Mary talking to Yuri. He literally counted $40,000 bill by bill because they didn't trust him, I guess. But then we get Hopper, and Hopper has this huge scenario in this, which was so bittersweet because, well, we see him actually like take all of his like chains off and all, and he pulls off this attempt to escape. Or if you've seen the episode, you know it's more than just an attempt. Well, because after he gets in the place or wherever he's able to get out at, whatever that place is in the gulag that they're in, yes, I'm still calling it a gulag, but Hopper is there. He goes into this tool shed because he like accidentally, in quotes, air quotes, breaks his like sledgehammer, so he's like, get a new one, and then he ends up like untying himself or whatever, and getting the chains off, which again is a really nasty and makes me queasy sort of thing kind of scene with him taking the chains off because he still has them wounds on his feet. But he actually does it, and I've been rooting for Hopper the entire time so far, and he kicks ass almost the entire episode. He kicks ass, and it was awesome to see. Like when you could see his hands rise up when the guard comes in the shed and tells him to put his hands up, and he has them chains in his hand still, you know shit's about to go down. Like I was like, oh my god, this is about to be awesome. And it was. He used it to his advantage, and he literally finished the guy off by using the chain, which was sick to see. And then other people come in, but thankfully Hopper makes his escape and literally blows up the shed, and almost like probably half the guards, most of the guards that were there, blew up because of like the dynamite that they left in the shed for some reason, which wasn't a smart choice to the guards, obviously. But he actually makes it out, and it was so relieving to see him kick ass. And then a little later on, once he's like he found a snowmobile, and once he's like actually ridden a good amount of way and made it to the town where he was supposed to go actually, because that was the instructions that he had to get and that he had to follow to actually escape and get to the plane and actually leave Russia and go back to America and with Joyce and them. But he does it, and then he eventually gets to this like church or like cathedral kind of building, but it's just a bunch of like crates and stuff. But my God, when I tell you I wanted, or my body at least wanted to shed a tear of wholesomeness, because Hopper was free now. He had peanut butter, which he was like gulping down, and he was enjoying it. He had that smile, and you could tell he was truly happy, and he actually made it out of there. And he had the chance of coming back home. But it all goes, haywire, and it all breaks down into rubble. So it's a bittersweet ending for him, or for him in this episode at least. Like, it was so wholesome, and I was so happy to see it. I was just glad for him. And then, later on, when Yuri fucks over everyone, Joyce, Murray, the guard even, and then Hopper, everything goes out of control because of Yuri, because he wants that extra money, which I guess is a smart choice for him. But I doubt it's going to be a smart choice once we see the next episodes, and Yuri's probably going to get what he deserves. Or we might not even see Yuri again, but regardless, they're going to have to get out of that situation somehow. So we'll see. But yeah, my man is so happy, and it's just so wholesome seeing him happy. And again, that chance at actually being able to come back and visit his family again, not visit, just live with them and be with them again, is just so wholesome. And then even the peanut butter thing. Him curled up in that blanket with the peanut butter is how I'm watching the show. But again, we all know what happens with Hopper in that same building that he's in while eating the peanut butter. But as we all know, that didn't last very, very long, sadly. And then in between of all the scenes of Hopper, we get a little bit of bromance. Not bromance. I really don't like that term, but that's what it is. Like, I have my friends that I appreciate so much, and like I love them to death and all. And there's a scene with Will and Mike that I kind of related to, and I actually watched, and it was like they appreciate each other so much, and they actually like made up because they weren't talking, and they kind of lost each other along the way because Will moved. Mike had to focus on 11 and his relationship, and they both had to focus on school and everything else in their lives. So I get it, I understand. And they've gotten older, so you don't keep in touch with everyone, sadly. But that's how it is. And then seeing them two like rejoice and come together and make up kind of thing was really wholesome as well. At least this thing at least ended up well. Actually, no it didn't. Never mind, I'm lying my ass off. They called for a pizza for the stoner dude, which I still don't know his name. I like him. I love that guy. But they answered later on. They answered the door, which I thought was a pizza. They were ready to go and all, and it was the motherfucking military. I don't know how or why. Maybe probably for 11 or because the police were there or something. I really do not know. But the military was there, and they came guns a blazing. And when I tell you, this Paul Blart looking fat, like dad bod cop that had the pistol, he was holding his own. There was like a whole goon, like a gang of guys outside with rifles coming in hot in the building, and this Paul Blart, like dad bod cop looking dude, with a fantastic mustache, is like holding his own. He only has a pistol and another clip that he loads in, and he takes them all out, and then they get away. But I'm pretty sure he was shot towards the end when they actually get away. Stoner dude came up and with a pizza truck, and like, yo, is that a real gun? And it was funny. It was stupid, but it was funny. But yeah, never mind. I completely lied. They did not end well for them. But I don't think we see any more of them after that, anyways, though, because that's later in the episode. So we'll see. Then a little after that, we see Nancy and Robin's plan come to fruition, and Robin's complaining about her really tight like outfit the whole time, and how her boobs are getting pinched, and whatever she says. And her and Nancy somehow get in by Robin's miraculous like statements about like being a student or whatever, even though half of it was honestly true. But it gets them in, and then they actually end up talking to Victor Creel, and then that's when we learn about his family and his tragedy. And then, if you've seen the episode, you know how it plans out. I already said my stuff about that, so I don't really need to keep repeating myself and talk about it more, but we saw that. And now we know, it basically confirmed that it was Vecna, because we saw the flashback ourselves. We saw what happened with Creel and his family, and we know that Vecna's been around for a while. So it basically confirms that for us, and for the characters. And of course, I can't forget about Max. If it wasn't for Nancy and Robin's doing, and like their actions talking to Creel for the music thing, they would have never found out like the way to actually go against this Vecna thing, like in this like upside down new mantra that they're dealing with, and they would have never been able to stop it and like getting out of that trance, which was music, and they would have never found that out if it wasn't for them. And the worst would have came to worse, and Max probably would have died if it wasn't for them. And now that I'm like skimming through the episode and just making sure I'm not missing anything I want to point out, I still can't believe Yuri really betrayed everyone. He full on did not give a shit about anyone besides himself. A smart choice for him? Maybe. We'll see. I don't know. But, Jesus. How could you possibly jug a woman like Joyce? Like, goddamn it, Yuri. And then we see all the guards come in for Hopper. And they're, like, because he ratted everyone out. And then all the guards jumped the good guard, the guard friend. No. Goddamn it, Yuri. But, well, it is what it is. And now I'm really interested in seeing it. Like I said, I expected something to go wrong, but not that. So I really want to see where it goes, because now everyone is in trouble, and they can't really get help or help each other. So we're going to have to see what happens with them. And then a little later, when they're driving around, Max wants to go to her house, and they drive Max to her house, and drops off her letters for her family, because again, in case of her untimely death, that's like soon to be upcoming, which would have happened if, but we see her drop the letters off, and she sees her mom outside. Like, goes outside. It's not her mom. Definitely not her mom. But it's Vecna just playing tricks on her. And, like, Jesus. Like, I know like they have visions and all, but Vecna coming out and literally just telling her, like, you're gonna die soon. Like, your time is coming soon. It's just so ominous. And it's so evil. And like I said already, there's, like, an overlooming shadow of, like, darkness. And especially when it comes to Max. Like, figuratively and literally. The sky turns like black, it turns real dark, her whole surroundings like real dark, the grass dies out, everything gets like colorless, besides everything that she is envisioning because of Vecna. And I really like that they're displaying it like in the thing, and instead of just like telling us, it's showing us that like shit is real and shit is serious. Yeah, it wasn't her mom, it was Vecna, and it's just weird. It's a bizarre scene. And I feel so bad for Max. But thankfully, she's alright. And even though I do say that, I'm glad she didn't die, I do think someone's going to die in this season, though. Probably in the next part. But we won't say anything yet, because we'll wait for that to come out. It's not even released yet. We still got to wait till, July? I think so? June, maybe? I don't know. But soon. And now, I'm looking through the episode and making sure I'm talking about everything I want to talk about. And sharing my thoughts on it. And now here comes up to Dear Billy. While Max sits at the William Hargrove grave, or the grave of William Hargrove, aka Billy, she reads a letter that she wrote herself, of course, like she wrote everyone else. But this time she reads out loud to Billy because, well, some of unfortunate events that happened in the past. That is one of the reasons why Vecna is even after her in this, which you all should know and talk about. Since Billy's dead, she has to read it out loud, and she basically just says, and has this whole sob story that's actually worth getting emotional over, because it's sad and it's upsetting. It's really depressing, and it doesn't even last long. Or I mean, at least she got to. I'm very glad at least she got to finish the letter and she got to finish what she wanted to say, because it doesn't last very long because, well, Vecna comes in. But she reads this handwritten letter to Billy and to his gravestone, which is all some really cinematic scene, and it's really done well, I think. And it's just her reading out to Billy and how she wishes that he was still around, and that she wishes that they didn't hate each other, or that they didn't hate each other, but she wishes she was just there for him and did more, and that they were actually real brothers and sisters. And this was probably one of the most saddest parts. And I don't remember if there was an instrumental in there, music playing, but if it was an emotional scene, then it probably was, because that just makes everything sadder. And then, like I said, it doesn't last very long, though, because once she's finished reading the letter, that's when Vecna comes in. Hey, at least Vecna had manners and let her finish reading at least, because I would have been real pissed if it cut her off. So at least we had that scene where she is talking to Billy directly towards from the letter and just from her heart. It's a really nice scene. But then, like I said, Vecna does come in afterwards, and everything gets dark, and everything dies around her. Her surroundings get dark, and everything just has this really glooming, umbrella of despair just blown over her. And then, of course, the gang watches from afar as her eyes roll back in the head, and then Steve even goes over it and tries to comfort her, and they all try to rush over to her and make sure she's alright. But the entire time, she's dealing with Vecna in her head, or in her consciousness, or whatever. However that is, however it works, it's happening, and she's having to deal with Vecna on the inside. So, and she actually does what no one else did, and actually ran. She's actually the smart one, maybe because she's used to this, and she knows what happens to other people that have encountered Vecna, so it makes sense. But she actually runs away, and this shit gets freaky. Not only was Vecna actually turn into Billy, and talking down on Max, and denying everything that she just poured her heart out for at his gravestone, which was fucked up. Screw Vecna for it, but I love him, and it's a good antagonist, so I don't mind. But Max is obviously paranoid as hell, and she's living a real true nightmare. It's probably what she's been having nightmares over, and then it's Vecna, which we already knew that, but Max wasn't aware, and I guess it's part of the trance where it's just so real she can't deny that it's not real. So she's talking to Billy and then talking to Vecna, and then she does a smart thing and runs. Dustin gets the what's it called, the walkie-talkie, code red, whatever. But then Nancy and Robin are still dealing with the old guy and having to leave. They even run from the cops. But then we get more of the scene with Max and Vecna, and Max is just trying to avoid and do her best at avoiding Vecna. It's not possible. But then this is where the actual part where shit gets freaky, because she's red mist and decides to walk into the red mist, and it gets more decayed and more upside down the more she walks into the red mist, and it turns out to be this huge crystallized land of that black mold residue sort of stuff that's in the upside down, that the upside down is made of, and it's all them black molding black moldy vines and all that, whatever that material is, that upside down black mold. The entire place is made of it, and it makes crystals, and it makes foundations, and there's buildings and clocks everywhere, and floating pieces of debris and rubble. And this is basically where Vecna's base of operations is. This is the Vecna's lair, and this is, I guess, the home of Vecna's curse. And then I said this before in a previous video that Vecna was probably the antagonist that could actually talk and think like a human being, which is confirmed in this because Vecna actually has like literate, actual comprehensive conversation with Max, and Max is actually talking to Vecna, conversation face to face in this place, and she's actually wanted here, and she's actually lasted long enough. Honestly, lasted that long in this like place that Vecna's put her in. She just deserved to live. But I thought when her eyes rolled back, I thought she was gonna die. When she started floating up in the sky, I thought she was gonna die. When she was trying to get out, I thought it was gonna mess up and thought she was gonna die. But thankfully, she ended up fine. But there's this really weird place, and then the closer she gets to like the main place, like there's crystals and all this black mold are all around this like place in the red mist and covered in this red shrouded like kind of gas, or just like smoke. Like I said, red mist. But the main center point of this place is a little foundation, and it's like stone bricks and like a stone architecture. But then there's the black mold around pillars and such. And this is where Fred and Christy is. And they're actually here. Which I also said this in a video before. And I said that, like, what was the meaning of Vecna and what is Vecna's, like, goal in this? And I said one of the things from what the dialogue that Vecna has given us. Because I remember when I said that, Vecna has said, well, it was after both deaths. And Vecna told Fred to come with them. And it was basically telling Fred to join it. And this is exactly where that place is. And this is where they joined Vecna in. This little, not upside down. I mean, I guess it is upside down, but it's much more like fatal than that, and it seems much more like supreme than that, and on a much larger scale than upside down is, because it seems like it feeds much more power. Because Vecna is a very powerful being, an entity, and this thing seems like all of Vecna, and just like Vecna if it was a place kind of thing. Or this is like a physical manifestation of Vecna and Vecna's like power kind of thing. And now back to what I was saying. I made the point to where Vecna probably transports them. Well, it kills them, but brings their consciousness to the upside down with Vecna. And I guess I could say I was right, kind of. But the consciousness is obviously a physical like manifestation of them. So they're somewhere else. So their body's still there, and they're still there. And they might even be like actually like aware of where they're at, and like they're just there. But obviously in reality they're dead. But their like consciousness and like their physical manifestation of their minds and whatnot are still alive, living on in this upside down place. Which I don't even know if I can call it the upside down, because it looks a lot different. The like black mold and stuff is similar, but there's like this huge red mist around the entire area, and it's deep in like these made up like locations in the victims' minds that Vecna gives. So it's deep in that like of Vecna's visions. So I'm not even sure what it could be called, but it's pretty messed up. And then once they actually get the tapes to work, the headphones are on max, and then the music thing actually works. They actually make it work, and a portal opens up in like that location of Vecna's like location, like that like little Vecna's lair, and like Max is thinking of all the like good moments. And again, I thought she was gonna die. I thought they were gonna make us like give us hope and give us all the hope that she survives and she stays with the crew, and then they were gonna rip it away from us and leave us with despair and just leave us depressed. I really thought that was gonna happen, but they didn't do that, thankfully. I'm glad it ended up this way instead. But yeah, then the music works, and again, her body's floated up into the air. I thought she was gonna die again, but she didn't, and she actually fights back against Vecna, and actually is able to escape like the mold or tentacles that Vecna wrapped around her, because everyone's wrapped around in that black mold sort of material, or whatever that damn thing is. It's wrapped around the bodies of Fred and Christy, and there's going to do the same thing to Max, but Max actually was fortunate enough to escape thanks to the music that actually worked. So everything connected in the end, and it was planned out, and it was executed pretty well. So now Max is running towards his portal while Vecna is throwing all these debris and rubble and little like buildings at Max, and it's just not quite hitting her. And she's like, it's pretty close shots, but she just manages to escape. As all this like red guck or probably blood like is like splattered all over, and she actually mixed it out. And I was so relieved to see this. I was like, oh my god. And then she's actually awake. She falls out of the sky and she's back into reality. She literally snapped back into reality. So, and then we have it. And then that's where the episode ends. So I'm not sure where it's going to take place after this. But now they know Vecna, and now they have actually, now that I'm thinking about it, a lot of information on Vecna. Now that Max has been there and been to like Vecna's lair and seen what Vecna looks like, and the bodies of Fred and Chrissy. I always forget their names while I'm like actually talking out loud. But yeah, she survived, and yeah, and I'm not sure what the reaction is going to be for Vecna. So I'm really interested in seeing all that. I'm interested in seeing how Hopper, Murray, and Joyce get out of that situation. And then 11 is also still with the man in the suit. Owens. That's what his name was. Owens. So a lot of shit is going on, and a lot of shit still has to happen. And we're not even done part 1 yet. So I'm really interested and excited to see more of this. So I think that concludes all my thoughts and things I pretty much wanted to shed light on. So I'm really interested in seeing more, and I'm not sure how much I'm going to edit this. I normally just sit down, talk, and let you hear me out. So if I stutter or space out while I'm talking in these videos, sorry, but you just got to give me a chance to think and give me a minute to think about what I want to say before I say it. So that's what I do. But anyways, at least you don't have to deal with it anymore, because now this video is over. Actually, wait, no. Before we go, I'm lying. Before we go, I wanted to say that the bodies of Chris and Fred in that like place, like the Vecna is like upside down world kind of thing, and they're like all like stuck to the pillars and stuff with that like really like slimy liquid on them. It reminded me of that episode in Adventure Time with the deer, and how he licks everyone and like sticks them to the walls and holds them hostage. Yeah, I don't know. I just needed to mention that. Alright, now that I think I'm done. But before I go, I needed to talk about this again, because I just need to get it out of my head and just say it and make it known that I can't get this scene out of my head with Max running and everything with Max in this. The letter and this moment, it's all powerful, and the song playing has been stuck in my head since I watched it, and I can't get over it. It is so good, and oh my god. Everything from the letter and how Max like wants what could have been with her and Billy, even though they hated each other so much and their like abusive relationship. She just wanted everything that could have happened if he was still here, but obviously it can't because he's gone. And then the scene where she's running, trying to get back in like desperation, and just finally finding like a choice to live on and like a desire to live on. And especially with the song, they're running up the hill song. Oh my, it's all so good, and I love it so much. And it's such a good scene. Probably my favorite episode so far. And now I think I actually am done. I shed light and talked about everything I wanted to talk about. So again, thank you. And thank you for taking this time out of your day to watch this video. And just check me out. If you haven't already, or if you do and you're not doing this already, subscribe, comment, like, etc., etc. All that common YouTube stuff, And that's it. Thank you again. Stay tuned for more Stranger Things content for this part and for the next part when it does come out and does release. But thank you again. I appreciate it. This has been Ghosty, and I bid you all farewell.